What up?
Dude, that shit looked professional.
It's almost like we know what we're doing.
Don't say we. I had nothing to do with that. All I said was, yeah, all right, I'll make a book with you, whatever.
I think at least one of the lines in the video was something that you wrote.
Maybe. No, that's super awesome, man. I love that I am working with someone who can do that shit. Because I just can't. Can't, won't, I don't know. It's a lot of that.
If we get some more people in the video or in the chat along the way today, maybe we'll pop that back on, so more people can check it out. But here we are, episode 12 dropped.
Yes, it did. It dropped like a motherfucker.
That it did. Well, we're off to a great start.
We are. Hey, I bleeped it at least, right? Yeah, no, 12 was great. It's so funny because my brain is in 13 and 14.
Yeah.
Because I just heard 13. So now I'm like, hey, what did happen in 12?
I'm writing 15 right now, and I just listened to the final version of 13 just last night. So I think I remember 12 still.
Well, why don't you tell us all about 12?
So in 12, we continue from where 11 left off. We have Tim is taken at the end of 11. Tim is grabbed from the wine cellar, and in 12, he's taken to a building where he's cleaned up and has kind of a gentle interrogation. Right? Is that a good word for it? Like,
I guess it is, yeah.
I mean, the guy asks him some questions and tries to not be a dick.
You had me a gentle interrogation. Like if someone was like, come in, we're going to give you a gentle interrogation. I'm like, yeah, okay. I think there would be less people mad at police right now if they started offering gentle interrogations. Like, oh, we'll give you a foot rub and then ask you why you broke into that corner store. And you'd be like, I'll probably answer your questions for a foot rub.
I'm going to say the guy that gently interrogated him, though, probably isn't an ideal candidate for a model citizen.
I agree.
So he has the bit of an interrogation, and then he's thrown down into a cell with Alistair. You want to talk about Alistair?
I love Alistair so much. Yeah. For those of you who either don't remember, my wife actually didn't remember, but for those of you either who don't remember or didn't hear it.
You want me to pull that up?
I would love it if you did.
You can keep talking, though.
So at the end of at the very end of the season finale, I remember we were doing one of these shows, and I had said to you, I messaged you while we were chatting, and I said, dude, we should do a after credit scene like one of the Marvel movies. And you were like, yes. And so I wrote one for episode 10 and had it in there. And I mean, it was one of those things where you heard it. And when you heard it after listening to the first season, you're like, what the hell even is this? Like, what does this have to do with anything? And now we're 2 episodes in, and you can go and you can listen to that, and you can go, oh, I know exactly what that is. That's so cool. I think it really set up this season very well without telling anyone that that's what we were doing.
Okay. I have it queued up.
I was like, should I keep talking? I don't.
Okay. So, for those that don't recall or never heard it, here's the tail end extra scene at the end of season 1.
That says Essence House podcast trailer for
Darkness
Aftershow.
turned to light as eyes slowly flickered open. The stone walls had become familiar.
Oh, yep. Hang on. I need to share the right tab. That looks better, huh?
Yes.
All right, take 2.
Darkness turned to light as eyes slowly flickered open. The stone walls had become familiar, and he felt as though he could reach out blindly and touch any one of them, and know exactly which one it was, and where in his makeshift prison he was now located. The man licked his parched lips and blinked. Nothing had changed since the last time he had been awake. Noise from nearby forced his head to turn quickly as a door opened loudly, flooding the darkened room with light. He looked up as a shadowy figure leaned down and placed 2 bowls on the floor. "Drink, eat, the dead tell no tales," the guard spoke in fluent German. He could see the man was plainly dressed in slacks and a dirty white undershirt, with heavy boots on and a knife on his belt. "And you have much to tell us, Alistair Simmons." Alistair cupped a hand into the bowl of water and took a long sip. He stared up silently and then sat back down. The guard eyed him a moment longer and spat. "We will hear your confession, and then you will die."
So that was the that was it.
That one was so fun because I remember people listening to it and going, "Ooh, is this Tim?" And then once you hear Alistair, you're like, "Who the hell is Alistair Simmons?" Like, what?
Yeah, Alistair's he was a lot of fun to write in this one, and he's been a lot of fun. I don't think have you read any of 15? I sent you a link, but I don't think you have.
No.
Okay.
No, I'm a terrible partner.
You are. He's been really fun to write in 15 too. I'm really enjoying Alistair. So
Have you read 14 yet?
did you send me a link to 14?
I didn't even start writing it. But if you'd said yes, I could call you a liar on air.
If there's one thing I am, it is not a liar.
Well, you just proved it. So wait. Yeah. That
I
was
figure out if that was a double negative or a double positive or
what's a double positive?
there's got to be a double positive, right? If there's a double negative.
I guess, yeah.
In 2020, there's no double positive. So, anyways, Alistair, he meets Alistair in this jail cell, and then they have this guy comes and torments them a bit. Well, it doesn't really torment, but yeah, I guess it's tormenting. He has a gun and stuff. And then things get interesting. Kind of leave it open a little bit. Although I know that one thing that our friend Kyron, who is in the chat right now, had asked to talk about before was the stuff that Tim was doing in the cell, kind of utilizing the wastes.
Yeah. Even I was excited by that. I loved how that came together.
So, for people that don't know what a waste is, I can play.
I love this. We've got like a whole multimedia thing going on here.
This is crazy.
We went from, hey, we're 2 idiots live to, hey, we've got all this extra stuff. Like, let's show it off.
So this is a part of chapter 12 where Tim recalls what a waste is from what Barnabas told him in season 1.
Wastes are spirits or shades that are created when timelines are changed. The bigger the change, the more powerful the waste. Barnabas told him. Just by being there.
So, basically, the wastes are created, as Barnabas said, by changes in the timeline. So if somebody finds out information, oh, Kyron has a comment. Wait, is it a waste? All this time I've been saying wraith. This is almost as bad as mispronouncing saw, which I didn't just now do, by the way.
Yeah, so it's waste, not wraith. You exob creating jerk.
Thanks for your comment, Kieran. We love you, Kyron. So the wastes are, so like if right now, Chuck had his whole existence ahead of him, another 40 years, and then like I popped in through the timeline and killed him. Well, Chuck was supposed to live, so there's like this leftover Chuck that's kind of in existence in some way.
Yeah, basically because the timeline has now changed, all of that potential turns into something negative.
So we've seen that in. I mean, he brings up that his uncle basically became a waste in season 1, and that was like an extreme case of waste. But
Yeah.
like a middle ground waste situation that we had in season 1 was Jessica. In that scene where she appears in the truck next to Tristan, right?
Appears in the truck.
Maybe it wasn't a truck.
Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right? You wrote it.
No, you're right. So when you talked about Jessica, I was thinking about the waste that appeared when they were in the restaurant, and it was throwing the Parmesan cheese around and stuff.
Yep, which was a very similar scene to the scene in the jail in this one.
Yes, but again, much more minor.
Yeah. So Tim realizes that if he gives away any information, he's changing the timeline, and so that creates a little bit of chaos. So he uses that to his advantage. And after I didn't really think about it too much before I wrote that part, but afterwards I kind of equated it to in The Walking Dead. Like walkers are like, at the beginning they're kind of scary and they're kind of this horrible thing, but after a while they're kind of mundane and it's almost like rain. Like they're just there. And so, but then later in more recent seasons, they actually find uses for them.
Well, and it's because it's one of those villains or creatures that doesn't really level up. Like a zombie becomes a zombie, and it's always equally bad, never worse than it was before. We did indeed. So yeah, I mean, you have to find some other thing, and of course, in this case, in their case, the people are worse than the Walking Dead, and in a lot of ways, it's kind of the same for us, though our wraiths can get super freaking powerful.
What are you doing with them, Kyron?
And why are you trying to make them wet? That's just wrong.
Awkward.
Yeah, dude.
Show, Kyron.
Maybe you should spend some more time with your wife. I'm just saying.
So yeah, so Tim finds a way to use all the chaos that comes from timeline changes to his advantage during that scene, which causes an opening for them to escape, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess kind of in this show, we've kind of skated around giving away too many details. But I think it's safe to say that Tim time traveled in the recent history, that it kind of came out.
We even found that out for the most part in episode 11. So I don't think at this point.
So Tim finds out that he's in 1944 in Switzerland, and he's actually at this point in the story being held by like unofficial Nazis. I mean, they're officially Nazis, but they're there in an unofficial capacity.
Unofficial Nazi might just be like a really good band name for some serious douchebags.
We have unofficial Nazis gently interrogating Tim. That's like the most passive-aggressive sentence on the planet.
I can't get over that. That's unofficial Nazis gently interrogating.
So Bruno's talking about Umbrella Academy, which I haven't watched or read.
So good.
That's what I hear. It's supposed to be
and
fun.
yeah, so in a sense, you were right. I would say that our Umbrella Academy hasn't really inspired much of this, and that's mostly because a lot of what we had written was already sort of laid out and done before that. Especially the time travel stuff that happens in this in the newer season of Umbrella Academy. I like what they did, but yeah, I wouldn't call it an inspiration, but I can see how you would find the similarities. And by the way, Eric, you should watch Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, it should be on my list. I need to make an official list. I think of things I should watch and then I forget about them.
Especially since you are like into the time travel stuff. Oh, Jude, are you drinking water?
I am.
Well, no wonder this show is so crap right now. We're both drinking water. One of us is supposed to drink alcohol.
That hasn't really been the case on our show. That's been the case when we meet.
I have this NyQuil. That's about the closest thing to alcohol I have. Let's see how good this show gets.
So that's basically the run of the episode. I mean, there's there's things that happen, like Tim's, like the Nazis are curious about Tim's cell phone and his weird gun that he brought back with him.
Which I think we handled the gun very well, because we never once said what kind of gun it was. And I don't know about you, but
yeah, I don't know enough about guns to
yeah. I was like, oh, Glock or some shit?
Like sometimes, like, there's so much research that has to go into this show. Like, I had to learn about how the Nazis handled Switzerland. Like, there's so many like specific things that you have to like look up. That little details like that are just easier just to gloss over. And so there's.
We'll save you'll find out what kind of gun it is in the book.
Yeah, ooh.
We'll do that research then. And you'll be like, oh, that's what kind of gun it was. This was worth the price of a paperback.
Oh. So another thing that we talked about that we wanted to talk about tonight was the sound effects. So there was one specific sound effect, which I will pull up, that was a fun nod. I almost call it an Easter egg, but it's not really, because I don't know how anybody would really get it.
Yeah, right. Somebody's in there peeling apart all the layers. Hey, do you know Chewbacca's voice is also part seal?
So All right, so this is the scene.
The room dimmed, and whispers collected in the corners. I'm no Nazi, Timothy. You have no idea who you're dealing with. Now tell me how it is you are doing this.
So the sound effect there with the whispers, that's pretty generic. Like, so when I have a set of sound effects that I use, like from a professional site for such things, and there's not like a good whisper sound effect that you can just download and use. So I was trying to find like something to use, and I was like, well, I mean, I could just record myself whispering. But then it comes to like, what do you whisper? Like, so it didn't really necessarily matter if you weren't going to understand it anyways. So I took the first 3 lines of H.G. Wells' Time Traveler book, and I read those 3 lines. I chopped them up. I layered the 3 lines, one on top of the other, shortened them up, and then I reversed the sound on one of them and layered them and exported it. So it's like this mess of whispers that like definitely has like some meaning, but it's not important to the story. It just is a nice nod for us.
Yeah, and then see those kinds of things are fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when people, it's like, oh, that was really interesting. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been some sound effects that I've had a lot of fun creating in this. Like, that was fun. Actually, I was having trouble finding a good pound, like when the Nazi guy stands up from the table and like he's like, "We've had enough." Like, there was not a good sound for that, so I ended up having to. I think I used my phone. I set it up on my table, and then like right on the sides of it, I pounded on the table, and I took my own for that one. There's only 2 that I actually created for this one, but there's like things like where I'll mix, like it's almost like if you watch like a Star Wars documentary, like at Industrial Lights and Magic, or actually Skywalker Sound, they want to do the sound effects. Anyways, when they pull together the sound effects and they go out and record things in the world, like, so when it comes to like the snarl in the corner, like that was like a piece of a lion snarl slowed down a little bit. Like when in season 1, when Uncle Rick turns into the big waste beast, like I was grabbing various animal sounds and putting them together. And when it comes to like the exploding crates in this one, I'm finding different explosions and amplifying them, and so it gets to be a lot of fun sometimes with the sound effects. Sometimes it gets to be a bit much. Sometimes it's frustrating because you just can't find the right noise. But,
yeah, right. You must have enjoyed doing 13, because I realized afterwards, like as I was listening to it, I was like, he did good. He found some good sound effects, but I really didn't put a lot in there. Like I wasn't focused on that.
Yeah, it was nice and light.
It was very light. I'm sure you're like, ooh, I think you actually found stuff to do. Like
there was a couple points, like the wheelchair,
or when you had the sound effects of the medical machinery in the background.
Yeah, I had to give some kind of ambiance there. Yep. So yeah, sometimes like this episode was like super intense with sound effects, and like it took forever to put together. Then 13, nice break because it went pretty quick.
Well, and wouldn't you say that that's kind of a sort of a microcosm or an example of the 2 episodes as they are?
Yeah.
As in, this was very kind of action oriented and heavy into the plot and whatnot, and the next one is a lot more of a breather. Though my wife, when she watched it or listened to it, she said there was a fair amount of story there. It was much more emotional and less of the heavy action beats.
Yeah, it's definitely there's a lot to it, and I guess maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, but we can talk about it a little bit. We finally catch up with Tristan. for the first time since he exits in episode 10. So
that's true, right? We didn't get to see him. That's right.
Yeah, he hasn't literally hasn't had a scene. And
you win this round, Cockerel.
I mean, we did mention what his situation was in 11, but it wasn't until next episode next week that you actually have scenes with Tristan, and it's super heavy. Like Tristan is in every second of that episode, so he makes up for his missing time.
Yeah, Tristan is kind of like the new Tim in that episode.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know. We'll talk more about the next episode in the next after show. So
I like what Bruno said here. A good whispering sound effect, if I may suggest, could be something that makes your voice sound like a snake. The Slytherin thing. What is it? Parcel tongue. Oh, I'm showing off my Harry Potter knowledge.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. That is cool. The other thing, see, I don't think about the sound effects an awful lot. It's one of those things where it's just like I write and I'm like, Eric will make it happen. Like I don't. Sometimes I'll put something in there just to be a dick, so that he has to do extra work. But I don't actively think. And so, if I had thought about the whispering, I'd be like, "Oh, dude, why don't you get the whispers from Lost? Like that'd be awesome."
Yeah. Yeah, we'll find some more nods to stick in there.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure we've had nods that I'm not thinking of already. We've had Back to the Future, sure.
Oh, we had tons. Back to the Future, Terminator, 12 Monkeys, like tons. Yeah. And now we've got the Time Machine. Like, I mean, honestly, there's been an awful lot.
I think they're all done right too. Like we're not ripping anybody up or just giving little nods to things.
Yeah. I think that I like the way we do it because it's very much just like, hey, we know that time travel has been done a lot, and we're gonna, and you're always gonna touch upon pieces of those other things. But I also believe that we very much have kind of taken our own way.
Yeah, even I would say like a super cliche thing in time travel is going to World War II and trying to stop Hitler or something. And here we are, we've time traveled to World War II now, but that's like none of that. Like that's not the point.
No mention of Hitler yet.
No, there was a mention.
Oh, well, yeah, sorry. That's true. But I mean, no mention of going after him.
Yeah.
It's funny because anytime, people are like, ooh, let's go stop baby Hitler. And here there's like, we need to live. Like, let's worry about that.
All right. So do we want to talk about some of the cool stuff we've had going on with our progress of the show?
I would love that. I think that's a very good idea.
I don't have any kind of videos or anything for this one, so but I think it's I don't know. Start by mentioning that Backtracks is like a podcast tracking service. They offer like different marketing things and stuff, but they do analytics on across the board for podcasts. And yesterday we were on their best sci-fi podcast list at number 93. So we broke the top 100. We were right above the top 100 the day before, and Chuck was like, I want to hit the top 100. And then we found out today that we hit the top 100 when we weren't watching yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's such a cool feeling. And we, you go, oh, you hit the top 100. Yeah, top 100 out of 250 that they watch, by the way.
Yeah.
And, that was just really cool. I don't think that it's something I would keep an eye on all the time.
No.
But certainly, like, a day or two after we've launched a new episode, I would take a look at that and be like, oh, how are we doing now,
Well, one of the nice things is they offer that list as like a way to try to get people to pay the money to see the rest of the list. So like the free list is 250. And most people would go on that list and be like, oh, where am I at on the list? I don't show up. Well, let me pay them, 10, 20 bucks or whatever so I can see where I show up on this list. But we actually show up in the top 250, so we don't have to pay them a dime.
I ain't paying nothing.
As long as we can keep that performance up, we don't
Right.
know where we're at. So that was
Well, I mean, our numbers have been nice. They've been pretty impressive, but they're not at the point where I thought we would be where we're at, and that feels really cool.
yeah. Well, then to find out like that across the board, podcast numbers aren't really what you expect. Like, so it turns out that according to the Buzzsprout analytics, where they kind of get like a median number and then they figure out where you're at compared to the median number, we're actually in like the top 25%, like by our monthly downloads. So that's,
Which is sweet.
yeah, that's pretty cool to find out.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as of right now, we're like 80 something listens away from hitting 2,000 listens, which is pretty sweet because we were 3 weeks ago, we hit 1,500.
Yeah. Well, and, we've talked about it. Really what we were hoping, especially in like season 1, we wanted to hit on average 100 listens per episode. And then we got there and we were like, okay, well, we're doing better than that. So why not by the time we start season 2, let's aim for 1,500. And we were actually just a little bit under there. We were like 1,470 or something.
Yeah, day that we launched, we actually hit 1,500. The day that we launched, too. So we wanted to beat it, but we missed it by a day.
Well, and that's fine. Like, definitely not a loss.
Plus, I found out yesterday that across the board with podcasts, numbers dipped in May and June. So, May, June, and then into July, they started rising again. So, I mean, the whole world was hit with COVID. And I was kind of surprised to find that it actually affected podcast numbers because people are at home. You think it's entertainment for people at home, but also a lot of people listen in their car, right?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Yeah, precisely. Yeah. Well, also it's summer, so I think a lot of people were spending time with family and not focusing on that stuff as much, which I totally get that.
Yeah.
But summer's over. Time to start watching some podcasts, and we're one.
Yep. So my favorite analytic, though, such a nerdy way to say it, but I like to watch. I like to watch like the urgency of listening. Like, so that first 7-day number has really been really cool to me, and to see that keep going up. So like on the day of launch, last episode, or the week of launch, last episode, in 7 days, there was 51 listens. And this time, within the first 4 days, we were at that point. And then we got, like, now we're over, like, 75. And the 7th day just ended last night. So it was a nice bump. Like, if we can keep that growing, then we know we're doing something right.
It means that we could be doing 100 listens per week, and that's just of the single episode.
Yeah.
That's not including people going back and listening to old episodes and stuff. And really, we just wanted to hear 100 episodes or 100 listens per episode, not even worrying about if it was actually that episode or not. So yeah, the analytics are really exciting, and they are fun to watch. I mean, in a way that's just weird to say. It would, it'd be like if you actually had money and then you could watch that money grow. Yeah. That would be fun. But most of us don't, so they're like, hey, you want to take an accounting course? No. I'm just going to see how crappy everything is.
Yeah, so that's been really cool to check out and see the actual growth. Like, even watching, so like there's episode 10 actually has more listens than like 8 and 9. So like I've seen like people going back. You could see in the analytics that people went back and watched episode 10 before they jumped into the new season. Like it's just cool. Like it's cool. I think it's a cool thing to check out right now because coming from a comics background, like that's you don't see that. You know that it happens. Like every time because especially when you buy mostly from indie creators, they might put out 1 book a year. Some put out 2 books if you're lucky, and it's a good one that you're following. But generally, by the time the next one comes out, I'm rereading the 1 or the 2 before it. So, I mean, it's a normal practice. It's just really cool to be able to see it.
But also, and people complain about it a lot. It's the reason why they keep renumbering and kind of restarting series is because you get number 1, you get this massive number, and then 2, 3, 4, and those numbers drop.
Yeah.
And we're not getting that at all. We're actually getting the opposite of that. And that's a really cool feeling. And I mean, I think a lot of that is us building a brand and building a story and getting people excited. But, you know, you would wonder, like, when does that start to drop off? And that's just not happening, which is so cool and really indicative of the differences between comics and audio dramas.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yes, I said indicative.
You did say indicative. Indicative, analytics. This is a very smart sounding show tonight.
Dude, I'm not ready for it. This brain is half asleep right now. And yet, somehow I'm going indicative.
Do you need a gentle interrogation, Chuck?
A gentle interrogation and some NyQuil. My night is made, folks.
Oh, so I don't know. Does anybody have any questions, or is everybody asleep? Did my comments stop showing up?
Yeah, mine too. Do we want to tease episode 13?
Yeah, I definitely think so.
Okay. Excited about episode 13. We move completely away from what's happening with Tim and Alistair. I'm glad I said Alistair. With Tim and Alistair, and we now get to see what's going on with Tim, with Tristan, and Jessica and Barnabas. We this is another one of those episodes that when you listen to it, I believe you're going to want to go back and listen to some other old ones, including episode 9. It would be a good one to go back to. We also get to learn more about the family as a whole.
Yeah.
And this one's a very heartfelt episode, but it's also a tough episode to listen to. It's not an ultra happy episode. It's rough. And
yeah,
I mean,
all throughout.
Pardon me?
Kind of melancholy, like all throughout. Like it's.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's not, it's not depressing. I think it's still a great episode. And I think what's really nice that I don't know if it was done on purpose, but the episode is fairly melancholy. And then when it ends with this real feeling of hope, like, oh,
yeah,
something's about to happen. And I can tell you that 13 leads nicely into the action that will be coming in 14 when 14 is finally written.
Yeah, it's I think it's I like that in both this episode and the next episode we're able to introduce new characters into a story that's, roughly half over. Like,
yeah,
we very organically introduce them. Like,
well, and what I liked about it is that in a lot of ways, not so much with characters like Alistair, obviously, but with the other characters, there's enough history there and mention that when they come up, it's not like, who the hell is this? And we've been there, like, where suddenly somebody has like a nephew and you're like, well, who the hell is that? You never mentioned them before. And so I was happy with how we brought this one about, because when those characters show up, they actually very much have a history, and we're already well aware of them. So
Yeah.
I feel like that's a big deal.
Yeah. So that's a really good episode. It was a bit of a tearjerker.
Yeah, I was really worried about it because you killed it so strong on 11 and 12, and then I was like, I got the emotional one. Like,
You did
I
both.
wanted to kick some butt.
You're like, I want to write Tim and Alistair. Okay,
I
Chuck.
I want to play. And actually, I did say that. We were talking ahead, and I'm like, can I please have episode 16? Like, I need to play with Tim and Alistair just a little bit. All right, fine.
I only spent several episodes setting this up, but you go ahead and finish it off, Joe.
Fine. I'll set something up in 14 so you can enjoy it in 17. Happy?
The whole show is setting up stuff to enjoy later, so there's plenty.
Katrina's here. Katrina, do you have any? I think we're kind of winding down. So, do you have any questions about episode 12 or 13 or 11 or anything else?
Ask us some questions, and we'll either say, go back and watch what we already said, or we'll answer you.
Yeah. Now we're just going to watch and wait. Yeah, let's drink.
Get them dots showing up. Come on.
Woo!
While Katrina gathers her thoughts, I could play the Essence House trailer again. Let me find my link. Actually,
I'm going to dance while he sets up the video. 13 isn't out yet, but you could ask questions about for teasers and whatnot. I'm dancing while he's getting the video ready.
And
Booyah.
Are you sure about this? We should never have gotten involved. We're way beyond that now. We'll call a meeting soon. Figure this out. How is a tool shed worth all this trouble? Wait, if you don't know about the shed, it's just easier if I show you. Go outside. You'll understand. What is this? How is this possible? It's supposed to be gone. Tim's eyes slowly opened, and he peered around him. They were not in the Essence House anymore. Essence House by Eric J. Cockrell and Chuck Pino. Today's the day, asshole.
I showed my kid the I showed my youngest the trailer, and she laughed. And then I went to show one of my other kids the trailer, and I ended it before the last line, and Becca's like, no, the last line's the best. I'm like, you're 10. And she's just like, no, that's the best.
Oh.
So,
man, that period is awesome. The period, I asked her when I was making the trailer, if I need to have a period in this one sentence at the end. If it
okay.
a full sentence. So
I thought she was somewhat time period.
No.
That's funny. So she said, will 13 be more in a certain European country or back at the corners? So we do end up at the corners at one point, but yeah, it's very much a Tristan-centric episode. It's going to be a little bit before we end up. Oh, actually, it might not be as long as you think. Before we end up in a certain European country.
Oh, yeah. Nope. I mean, we wouldn't know since 14 isn't written, but...
But we have an idea because it's outlined. I've done that much. But no, 13 is, we were saying it before, 13 is a very emotional episode, and it's very much Tristan, Jessica, and Barnabas.
Yep.
So glad, man, it's so funny. I mean, Jessica wasn't even a twinkle in our eye, and Barnabas was just something we kind of threw in there, not knowing what we were going to do with him.
I had a rough idea because, like in the first episode, I wrote in the text message, and it was EGB, like, so I knew he was part of the guard, so he had a pretty big role to play. But there was all the stuff with the envelopes and all that kind of came about organically while we were writing. Like, we didn't really have a full clue when we first started on him.
I don't think that either of us ever imagined him getting an entire episode either.
No.
Like, we were so excited by him by the end of the season that it was just like, let's go into his origin. Like, there's some really cool stuff to play with there.
Yeah, I left that question, and I wondered if we would ever get back to it. I didn't really plan to, but I left that question with Miss Gianni, where she kind of wondered what Barnabas had been through in his past to make him so prepared for the stuff that happened in chapter 9. But I didn't know at that point that we were actually ever going to get into it. That was one of those things that I put out there, didn't expect to use, but didn't matter if we used it. Some of the stuff we have to revisit, but that one never really had to be. So.
And thank you, Katrina. I kind of agree. He's one of my favorites too.
Yeah.
I would say at this point, so I almost never like the heroes as much as I like side characters. And so for me, I would say Barnabas and Jessica are my favorite characters.
Interesting. I think, maybe I'm a hero guy because Tim and Tristan are my guys. Me and Tim both share a love for Molson Canadian beer, so.
It's not just you and him.
Or Goose Island or any Canadian beer. Canadians are good beer.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, and I certainly love the characters. Yeah. I'm excited to show off more of our new characters in this season.
I'm really excited. I believe
they're going to get really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. And even honestly, like Rick's story is so tragic, and I think that he's a character that I've kind of grown to appreciate.
I think the way we wrote him and made him, a lot of people were expecting him to just be terrible, and it's like, oh, he wasn't terrible. He was actually, and actually, I can say that going into the rest of the season, there's still some more that we get to kind of see and hear about Rick. I would say that the mentioning of Rick is certainly not done. I hate that when a TV show or something kills off a character and suddenly it's like they didn't matter. You know, it's like, oh, let's do the funeral and now they don't matter anymore. It's like, no, that death is huge in everybody's life. That needs to be dealt with, and that's a part of the rest of their lives. Yeah, and I like that we've kept with that.
Even since, I mean, in chapter 10, you know, Rick is shot to hell, and then we find out, it's not till the end of 11 that we find out what happened to him, really. But then even in 12, Tim brings him up, and then in 13, there's big scenes with him. So yeah, like.
What did I spoil?
Katrina says, most terrible people don't start terrible. I guess that's true. I mean, babies don't come out terrible, usually.
Oh, you haven't seen enough babies. We're all terrible.
Well, I'm good.
No, my baby days are done.
But yeah, I think. I'm trying to think what other characters are. Yeah. I think it'll
It's not
be.
like we have a ton of characters either.
No, we don't have a huge cast, which makes it very manageable. And they all kind of get their moments, which is cool.
Yeah, I agree.
I think characters that I'm looking forward to more are new characters for sure. Characters that are mentioned, like Hans Sorensen. Looking forward to seeing what comes with him. And then, I think there's big things coming with Greta, who we haven't seen since chapter 10.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some really cool stuff there. So really, as much as I'm excited to see like how the main characters all kind of get together, the new characters bring a lot to it, and they're just so it just happens so natural. It's just I feel like I don't mind patting us on the back for how we did all that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it worked out really well. And actually, Katrina kind of nailed it when she says smaller cast means I can keep track easier. It means we can keep track easier, too. Ooh, Greg's almost caught up.
Oh, good. I hope we didn't give away too many spoilers tonight.
Yeah, he dies in the end.
Yep.
I used to do that. That was a joke I'd love to say. If somebody was walking around with a Bible, I'd walk up and I'd be like, hey, spoiler alert, he dies in the end.
You're a bit of a jerk.
I am a bit of a jerk. Then they would grab their Bible and go, well, great, now I don't need this.
Right. Oh, he says that he literally just clicked on. Thanks, guys. Well, good timing. We'll try not to spoil anything for you.
Yeah, don't go back.
Yeah, don't go back and watch this until later.
Yeah, we're just not going to say who he is. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we don't know how far back he is. Greg, are you even in season 2 yet? That's the terrible part of asking questions. They're like 30 seconds behind us.
If they're even still on there.
They already left.
Actually, I had to. You were doing your live stream earlier, and he's in season 2. Good.
Good.
When you're doing your live stream earlier, I had to go do something, so I had to duck off of it. But then I came back. I played it some more while I was making dinner later, so I got to hear the nice things you said about me at the end.
I said nice. That was good of me.
You were probably
Wow.
high on your NyQuil, but
Oh, I was definitely high
take
on that. Definitely.
whatever pain meds you're putting yourself through today, I'll take it.
Just keep chugging them back. You're doing great. Screw melatonin. That's the stuff right there. Yeah. Do we have any other? Was there anything else you wanted to talk about? We're pretty much at our 1 hour point.
Yeah. No, I mean, we talked about the episode. We talked about sound effects. Showed the trailer a couple times. To the stats. I would like to ask people to find us on YouTube and Twitter and give us some follows and subscribes. If you're not watching this on YouTube, because we do upload there.
Keep listening on your main. Don't make YouTube your main way of listening to this, because that's where analytics come from. Is from Buzzsprout and all the other Apple and Spotify and whatever. That's where we get our analytics. So we're definitely trying to push people there more than anywhere else. And yeah, super glad that you're on chapter 11.
So if you're if you don't have access to the podcast networks, like if you're at work or whatever, YouTube's fine then. We'd rather you listen than not give us that number. But also our YouTube, we have the backlog of all 13 or 14 after shows.
Yeah. Podbean, whatever.
Yep, we're on Podbean. We have I could run down the list. I just updated it.
It's so hilarious how many of those things there are, and I really didn't know that world at all. And you're like, we're on this, we're on that. I'm like, that's a thing. Cool.
So on our website, we have a page for where to listen, and on here we have the list. So we're on Apple, Player FM, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Stitcher, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podchaser, Overcast, Listen Notes, Buzzsprout, YouTube, Google Play, Castro, Pocket Casts, Podtail, Podcast or Pod.cast, Backtracks, TuneIn, Podbay, and Pod Paradise.
Wow. Right? Where would you say we get most of our listens?
So I actually have this list in order of where most of them come from. So I was surprised by Player FM. I think when I went to Player FM, it actually turned out there was like a bunch of people subscribed too, which was cool.
That's very cool.
But yeah, I was like surprised that Google wasn't towards the top. On some lists, like our most recent episode, I think Castbox was our number 2. I've never even used Castbox. There's also some Google apps, a couple or like I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 different apps that I don't have access to get links because I don't have an Android device. So there's like actually a few that aren't on there because I don't have links to them.
Well, that's funny.
I probably should send a list to a friend that has Android or something and ask him to.
Yeah. If only you had a partner or knew someone else who has an Android.
I'll try to send you a list.
I might be able to hook you up.
When I was updating this, I was like, oh, I can't get that one. So, yeah, so it's everywhere. It's hard to, there's not really a reason to not check it out unless you just don't want to. And if you don't, then why the fuck are you even watching this? Oh, I'm sorry. Why the beep?
You got the first swear word. That's fantastic. Oh, shit. Did you hear what the fuck he said? I have a joke, and I use it's there all the time, and I tell people, I will not swear on your show until somebody else does it. And so I'm clean the whole thing, and all of a sudden somebody drops an F word, and I'm like, oh, bam! And they all come out, and I'm swearing for the rest of the show.
So yeah, if, we're looking for people to follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and if you do have a service that you use to listen to podcasts, hit the subscribe button on that service.
Rate us.
And rate us, yep.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That'd be super helpful. Yeah. And you know what? We've said it before, and I mean it. When I say rate us, I'm not one of those guys, give me a 5. No, really, I mean, some episodes are better than others. Some are certainly worse than others. Or rate the whole series, in which case, yeah, I'm good with the 5. Yeah. But really, whatever you want to do. I certainly don't feel like we're a 1, so I'm not worried about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I'm not concerned with saying that either. Because I mean, if the podcast just isn't for you altogether, maybe you don't need to rate it. You just don't need to watch it. It's not your thing.
Yeah. Well, and isn't that the funny thing is that so often you hear people yelping about stuff, and it's but I saw somebody I was working at a restaurant, and it was all barbecue. And they're like, we came there for some vegetarian fare, and we found none. And I'm like, it's a friggin' barbecue shack, man. What did you expect? And then we got destroyed on Yelp by this one person. And I'm like, because I don't have a salad? If I had a salad, it'd be a brisket salad. You still wouldn't be able to eat it.
And that's my thing. It's like the 40-year-old guys complaining about She-Ra, the new She-Ra cartoon.
Right?
That's not made for you. if you like it, cool. Tell me about why you like it. But if you don't like it, it's not made for you anyway, so I don't care. So if you don't like my show and it's not a show you would like, then I don't care. But if it's something that you think you should like and you don't like it for some reason, I'd like to know.
Yeah. I'm not a brony, so you're not going to be hearing me talk about My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic.
Not that there's anything
Won't
wrong,
be happening.
but it's not made for Chuck or me.
Steak salad is good.
But not vegetarian.
And I actually can't have steak right now. That sucks.
Ugh.
Yeah, that because of the kidney stone, I'm not allowed to have any animal proteins.
Dang. So you having tofu?
Right? No, right now, like I had spaghetti for dinner with cheese and stuff. Just nothing. It's a lot of vegetables and stuff like that, and water like mad. So much fun. Anyways, if everybody is done, are we good?
I'm good. I'm satisfied. Chuck, you left me satisfied.
Excellent, excellent. I always aim for that. Well,
Yeah.
and it's 9 p.m. I haven't had dinner yet. Well, you don't have to have steak every day.
No.
It would be less important if you did.
That wouldn't be awful though.
Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to have steak every day.
Yeah. Like that could be okay.
Yeah.
I might be able to suffer
Okay.
through that. Yeah. All
I
right.
think
Thanks
we're
for
good.
on. Yeah. Katrina, Greg, Kyron,
Everyone else who is here, Bruno, Kyron, Kieran.
Thanks for your comments. Good luck with your Exob Kickstarter.
Yeah, and Nova for Greg.
Oh yeah. Did that one end today?
I believe it ended this morning.
Greg, tell us about it. Well, you don't have to tell us about it, but make sure you correct us if we're wrong.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share Kyron's Kickstarter real quick.
Aw, look at this guy. You realize that everybody who's watching this right now I'm pretty certain have all jumped on that Kickstarter.
I don't know who's on the Essence House Facebook page though.
Oh, that's true. And people will come and watch it later on.
Yep.
YouTube. It has a second life on YouTube.
Kickstarter. All right.
They took your money. I'm sorry, hon.
Oh yeah, that's true. They did take my money too. That's how I knew that it ended.
I didn't notice.
Well, we're not all baller like you.
Throwing money around. You got a Kickstarter? There you go. Remember that when Belial comes out, people. And Essence House.
Yeah. The Essence House Kickstarter.
Woo. All right, gang. Thank you so much.
Yep. We'll see you like this in a couple weeks.
Yeah. And in the meantime, get all ready because 13 is going to have you crying. Bring your Kleenex.
Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. Laters.
Peace, love, and podcast.